Well, it's a warm welcome to everybody. Happy Sundays. Today we're going to be doing is it's really a subject that is, and on the next slide I've got a warning because it is quite dry, it's quite boring, but it's really important you understand sourcing from China is a bit of a minefield. And I've got a little bit inside knowledge on this. I've been living in China. I've been sourcing products from China for 20 plus years. I do some consulting work for a sourcing agent in China, and they're an auditing company. And people do reach out to us on that side of the business as well about being scammed. And these are quite big companies. We've also had sort of, unfortunately, a number of Amazon sellers fall for being scammed from suppliers in China. So what I want to do today, guys, is really go over what to look out for, what you can do to try and protect yourself, and some of the hidden pitfalls with respect to what a scam looks like. So excuse me. Let's jump in. Rob, if you've got anything to add as we're going through, please jump in, obviously.
I sure will.
Excellent. So, like I said, this next sign is, right, this is a warning. Subject is dry and boring, but it is a big but. It's absolutely imperative that you understand the content that we're going to go through. Now, these slides will be available for everybody, as you know, inside the membership area. So digest them, download it, digest it, watch the video again if you are sourcing in China. It's important to understand this. Right, so I'm going to go through this. There's a lot of reading, so bear with me. But if I need a drink of water on the way through. So here we go. So the three major risks of FBA sellers face when sourcing in China, predominantly they're initially poor product quality, okay, inappropriate packing and labeling, and the wrong logistics provider. In other words, getting a product sent from China to FBA. So let's have a look at each of these in account. Okay, so poor product quality, what does that mean to us, or you, or us? So products that were manufactured to an inferior standard, that's basically what it means. Note that this is quite common, even when the buyer receives a perfect pre-production sample, which you always should ask for. Always get samples of your product. Okay, and normally those samples will be pretty good. All right, so products got damaged during transportation. That's another one that is quite common. I've seen that in my products. I know people that have had products damaged during transportation simply because the packaging wasn't up for it. Now, the result of both of these issues means that the customer, in other words, our buying customers from Amazon, will receive a poor or broken product. What's going to happen? They're going to leave us a one-star review slating that product. In other words, this is no good, this is rubbish, this is poor, don't buy it, it's not worth it, it's crap, it's cheap. Other potential buyers will see that, and that will influence their decision. Consequently, they will not make a purchase. What's going to happen to our business? It's going to go downhill, stall, close, and it's going to be a disaster. Okay, what also is going to happen, they will also return that product to Amazon. And too many returns, inevitably you'll get your listing suspended. Okay, so we need to be really careful on quality. Inappropriate labeling and packaging. Now, what does it mean for us or you? Wrong labeling, i.e. FBA vendors are required to use a unique UPC code and or Amazon labeling. If we get that wrong, it's going to be a disaster because Amazon won't receive it into their warehouse. Our products will be stranded somewhere. In my case, in Rob's case, in a lot of people cases, we're not in America. And that's going to be very, very difficult for the likes of myself in order to fix that problem. Okay, because I can't just say, you know what, send it back to my house. I physically can't do that living here in the Philippines. It's ridiculous. So another area to look out for, weak export cartons. In other words, the actual boxes that your products get packed into and shipped on or in. Okay, inappropriate individual packaging as well. So if your product needs a little bit of protection and the packaging's pretty weak or inappropriate, it's going to potentially cause problems, i.e. the breakages we were talking about on the previous screen. This next one is where we have had issues. I've had issues. I know a lot of people have had issues with this, even though we do instruct our suppliers to comply with the right standards. In other words, we send them information over. Please do not pack our boxes that weigh more than 50 pounds and make sure they're not oversized. In other words, any side is no more than 25 inches. Okay, not to mention product specific requirements such as jewelry or soft toys or clothing or anything like that. They have their own specific needs when it comes to packaging inside Amazon. You need to make sure that you are communicating that with your supplier very clearly. Again, all these issues give you a problem with either Amazon directly. In other words, oversized or overweight means Amazon may refuse your shipment. Okay, that has happened to me. I have had to send in evidence that's saying, no, you know what, it's not the case, please accept it. And they have accepted it. Other times you do get penalized. They will fine you. Other times they'll just refuse it. Okay, or with a customer, as they may get the wrong product if it's labeled incorrectly. Again, I've had stories with respect to that. If you've got multiple products listed on Amazon and your suppliers put the wrong label on for whatever reason, your product will get labeled. When it gets into Amazon, they will scan it and they'll put it into that scannable barcode. They'll put it into that particular bin for you. If it's the wrong product or the wrong label, you know, your supplier is messed up. Excuse me. And consequently, your customer is going to get sent the wrong product simply because it's got a label on it. Amazon do not go, oh, this is a blue widget, let's send out the blue widget. No, they scan the barcode, pick via the barcode, and send it out that way. Wrong logistics provider, what does that mean to us? I'll tell you. Delayed deliveries with poor or opaque information from the freight forwarder. In other words, they're not telling you any information, even though you're chasing them up. Where's my product? When's it going to be shipped? Everything like this. High customs duty fees, impacting the margin dramatically. You know, if you get the wrong people sending out the wrong stuff or sending it the wrong way, you're going to get unexpected high duty fees, you know, as is coming into America. Some sensitive products such as batteries or scissors or sharp items are refused by most shippers. Make sure that if you are dealing with anything like that, you get the right freight forwarder to manage your products for you. The impact of these, again, is regularly leads companies out of business simply because, I'll take you to the second item here, in brackets, impacting the margin dramatically. In other words, there's no money in it for you. So how are you supposed to build the business? Okay. For example, poor product quality impacts the company in several ways. Customer complaints, product replacement costs, bad reviews for customers, leading to lower sales, obviously. And ultimately, account gets suspended if the average defect rate is over 1% for a period of time. All of these are hazards we need to look out for, and a lot of them that we can actually control. So, top advice when buying from China and sending directly to FBA, which I would say a majority of us do. Start small with your first order. We're looking at an MOQ of 200 to 500 if you can. In most cases, that is manageable, that is doable, that is negotiable. Okay. Check your quality during production, depending on what the product is, obviously. At least for the first order. This will allow you to catch problems early and give feedback to the supplier. Okay, use a third-party inspection for this. There's no point in us running over to China for our first product order of 200 items. Later on, if we get bigger than that, there's no problems. We can get out to meet our suppliers and do all of that good stuff. But initially, let's use a third-party inspection company. Now, that is an option, okay? But this next one is something that we highly recommend. Always check quality before products are shipped. Since the goods are delivered directly to Amazon's warehouse, you are taking a huge risk if no one has checked your goods. again, use a third party for this. We've been through this before. You can get them a third party inspection company to go out and check your goods for $100 upwards. Okay, the company I deal with and work for consultancy wise, that's $300 a day. There are others out there, $100, $105 a day. Do a great job. Get your products inspected before they leave the factory. Make good use of business-to-business directories such as globalsources.com, alibaba.com. We've been through a lot of those in the past on how to actually find products. And because they have an advanced search function, this allows you to help screen candidates. In other words, you can actually filter out certain types or certain sizes of suppliers. When setting up the advanced search parameters, make sure that you're looking for level 2 factories, not too small, not too large. Right, so what do we mean by level 2 factories? Now, here's a quick diagram, and again, you got these slides, you can check it out afterwards. Level 2, let me zoom in just so we can see what I'm doing here, is a company or organization that is semi-organized in their manufacturing processes. Costs are relatively low, and quality is relatively unstable. This is why we need to make sure that we are getting products inspected. The higher up you go, the higher the cost. In other words, level 4, continuous improving manufacturers. This is almost like the automotive or cell phone manufacturers. Okay. So a level 2 factory would be workers around 200 to 800 people, slightly disorganized workshop, but getting the job done. Oops, let me go back, sorry. Let me go forwards even. Once they get to a certain size, they will have to obviously get a few professionals in, on the likes of a QC manager, okay? Because they know that they are able to look after the quality as it's coming through. But still, low concern for quality amongst staff and managers in most cases in this size of organization. Inevitably, you will have an English-speaking salesperson if you're dealing directly with them. And most of the times, the companies or the suppliers that we're working with, they will have at least 1 or 2 English-speaking people that you can talk to. These will normally be salespeople as opposed to technical people. Okay, but as long as we can get what we need across to them, it should be okay. May still get orders mostly from trading companies. Now, this is why we say that a trading company is perfectly okay to work with, because they are able to negotiate and work with these smaller factories and manage them, as opposed to getting into some of the other size factories. So as a result of a level 2 factory, we're looking at lower costs, but slightly lower quality, and timing, you've got to work on it. So in other words, this is not a walk in a park, okay? And this is what this lesson or this call is all about. It's being able to work with this type of company, but managing your risk and limiting your risk factor. Okay, so let's move on. So what about inspection? We talked about inspection, but when should you get it done? Now, the most popular one is the final random inspection. This is often called the pre-shipment inspection, and is by far the most common type of quality control check. This should take place when you've got 100% of your shipment quantity finished, and at least 80% of that should be packed. In other words, ready to rock and roll straight out the door. This is so the inspection company can go in and take a real random inspection of all of the products. This is not exactly the case if the quality is checked earlier, because not all of your products will be finished. In other words, the supplier, if you've got 100% finished, can't play games with you. In other words, they will hide the poor quality products from the inspector if they know they've got any. Okay, and this does happen. This does happen. This is why you need to get 100% finished, 80% packed, and that is the right timing. So it also puts pressure on the supplier, and it gives power to you and us as buyers. Its objective is really to confirm a shipment's quality rather than catching issues early. It can't do that because 100% of it is finished already. But the key thing is the products are still at the factory in China, and if there are any issues found, that can be rectified before it's sent out. Also, down here in red, never pay the final balance of your products before the final random inspection is signed off. That it gives you a position of power. Okay, so while you owe them money, they will do what they need to do to get that money. In other words, they will rectify any issues. Okay, right, so how to carry out background checks on your supplier. Fortunately, these days, we can do that on the internet, which is pretty easy, and through the service of third-party service providers. You need to look out for frauds, and any little fraud, for example, pretending they're a manufacturer when they're actually a trading company. That's a fraud, okay? And if they're going to lie about that, they're going to lie about other things too. Don't forget, we talked about face in the past. Face is quite a big thing out in China. Yes, Paul, I've sent your stuff already because I've asked them, make sure you send my samples by the end of the week. So it's now after the weekend, and I've contacted my supplier, and because he's already promised me that he would send them out last week, he doesn't want to let me down. So therefore, he's not about to let me down. So he's going to tell me what he thinks I want to hear. That is, yes, I've sent your stuff. All right, let's leave it at that. All right, if you really want to know what face is, Google it and you'll find out. So, how to check a Chinese company. Here are a few tips. Let's go back. So, mention to them that you'll have their factory audited by a third-party agency. Gauge their reaction from that. If they want your business and they are actually a serious business and they're a serious factory and a supplier, they will welcome the suggestion and they won't turn up anything. You know, yeah, no problems, come in. That's fine. Just let me know when we can organize it. Also, mention that you have their products inspected by a third-party agency before the final payment. Again, if there's any conflict in their abilities, they will say, okay. Okay. Open Google and search for the company name, scam. I've got an example of that later. Check several online directories, i.e. Alibaba, Global Sources, Global Market, Made in China. All of these are sourcing business-to-business directories, and see if their profile on each of these platforms is consistent. If the information shown is different, i.e. phone numbers, addresses, contact names, and details, if it's different, it's not a good sign. That's a red flag. If it does match up and it is consistent, all right, so we're looking pretty good. At the same time, look at the information that was independently verified by the directories. Now, a lot of these directories have checked by such and such, independent, verified by whatever. Check that information just to cross-reference it in any way you can. A lot of the information can be collected and cross-referenced that way. Okay, so that's always good. Did the supplier participate in any trade shows? A lot of the people I've worked with in the past, i.e. suppliers in China, some of those bigger ones have actually gone to Europe, gone over to America, and participated in some of the trade shows over there specifically for their industry. Okay, and you can find them on the exhibitor list. Okay, and often if you put a search in various different whatever trade show, you'll be able to find that, and that's a good thing. Okay. Request a sample. I think this is quite an important one. Request a sample and request to pay for it on their company bank account. If this information is provided, is a good sign. Then ask them for the address of your courier company to come and pick up the package. All right. So what you're doing there is asking for their address so you can send in an independent courier company to go and pick up your sample. That way, you can check that the address they've given you matches the email signature and everything else that you've already done. In other words, a cross-reference check on some of these business-to-business directories and make sure everything tallies up. Lastly, have an agency check the registration of the company. Now, ideally, you should be doing this with a Chinese company because a lot of these registered companies, it's going to be written in Chinese, unless you can read Chinese, that is. And check a few other things as well while you're at it. More and more service companies and lawyers are helping people like us, importers, to do that. Okay, and I've got some examples that towards the end. So let's have a look at that Google company name scam. Okay, this is some random company that I found on Alibaba, as you can see here. Let me zoom in so you can have a look. And this is pretty boy down here, Shenzhen Bendia Rubber and Plastic Products. With no idea what they do, who they are, or whatever. Like I said, it's just some random company. This is the address, the information down here, the zip code. We've got some other details here. We've got a contact name, and we've got the operating address. Slightly different for the registered address. One would assume this is the registered main office, head office, whatever, and this is the factory itself. Various different things we can check here, but let's have a look, see what Google brought up. Okay, so you can see here what I've done is like Googled it and just put in the name and then put scam at the end. And the results come up as negative. I couldn't find anything through my search here that that really pulled up any red flags at all. So what are we doing next? Oh, just carry on. There's one of these I did see. There was a link to it. I thought, oh, that's quite a useful link. Maybe it's past the screenshot I'd done, but it was scamadvisor.com. Okay, so again, I clicked on that link just to see what the scamadvisor.com website came up with. Now, this is a free service. I think you can actually get a paid membership to get more information. But some of the information on here is, again, with this particular company, quite promising. It states that it's not sure whether it's an American company, it could be a Hong Kong company. So it's a little bit vague. But some of the information over here is pretty good. It gives us some of the information. It gives us the right terminology up here. It shows us where we are. And it's got the website is deemed to be popular by Alexa, which is a very popular ranking Google analyzer. So I couldn't actually see anything wrong with this particular company. So I would be fairly happy to carry on doing my research and due diligence with this particular company. Doesn't mean to say that just this quick search is good enough, because it's not. You need to carry on doing it. Okay. So what else we got? This is, okay, this is a scam. And I want to walk you through this scam. Okay, because we've, again, many people fall for something like this with respect to, God, blimey, this is really good. You know, I'm gonna make a killing here. Well, please be aware, this is a real life case study. Okay, this actually happened, right? So somebody got this email. This on the left hand side here, over here. This is part of the email that was received. What is this offering? An Apple Watch edition, pre-order $999. 42mm 18-karat yellow gold case, woohoo, with black classic buckle. Apple Watch pre-order $199. Okay, so it's a stainless steel. Okay, $99 for that silver aluminium case. All looking pretty good. Apple Pack 500. Okay, this includes MacBook Air, iPhone 5S. You can obviously see it's a little bit old. iPad Air, Apple TV, iPad Shuffle for 500 notes. We're in. Okay, this is pretty cool. Okay, I'm hooked. Sony PlayStation 268, Xbox 298. You can see, you see the content here for yourself. Genuine Apple, Sony, Microsoft products, guys, sold from China directly to European American customers is totally illegal. Don't fall for this. Like I said, this is a real case example. So let's check out, see what happened. They sent a real sample at the real market price to confirm the product quality. Okay. This way, the deal looked good and it looked like a great opportunity for this particular buyer. When the buyer places the order, inspecting the goods was not allowed. It's not an option. No, you can't. The seller asked for payment before the delivery is supposed to take place. Red flag. Then he stopped communicating. Sometimes the seller doesn't ship the goods, but if they do, they're all fake. And again, I've seen that in the past where the product has gone over and it just doesn't work. It's just a fake product. Okay. In any case, okay, what's going to happen is this particular company will send over their email address in the signature, and the signature information is all fake. Here is the information shown in this case. Let's check it out. Shenzhen Prime eBay code limited, China, room 2108, block D, overseas decoration building, blah, blah, blah. Let's check out the building. Room 2108 means it's on the 21st floor. But when we physically went round there to this particular address, the building only has 12 floors. See the photo on the right. Okay, this is the real deal. This is the actual building in that address. So you can see it's clearly a scam. The office did not exist. So why is this obviously a scam? Right? Companies like Apple, Sony have a very tight grip on their supply chain. They have become good at avoiding product leaks out of their factory. If something does fall off the back of a truck, it does happen, but it's a very, very rare occurrence. Even if you are looking to supply products like the Apple product or a Sony product or other branded products, big red flag, guys, big red flag. Don't go there. So another reason is selling branded products internationally without an official distributor account on the importing countries is strictly forbidden. So the companies that do this, including those based in China, are operating outside of the law. Don't get involved. To avoid this type of scam, focus on developing your own product, which is what we're all about. Buying non-branded products or buying branded products that bear the supplier's brand. In other words, you are building your own brand, your own business, your own company from the ground up. Importers who do the due diligence and take the right steps towards legally protecting their own business usually don't fall into this trap. And I'm hoping that's everybody that's listening, because that's us I'm talking about. That bottom line there. So how to avoid the bank account scam. This is another typical and very common scam that's going around. It certainly has been for the last few years. This scam normally comes in two forms. Okay, a crime organization hacks its way into the supplier's email system and sends invoices to customers. Tracking the people behind these bank accounts is usually impossible. Very, very difficult to do this, but please be aware of it. As salesperson, this is the second one, the salesperson uses their, I'll just put her here because it's a personal one, puts her personal email account for work. This is a common thing in China. Okay, Doris at benderplastics.com, or Doris at, it won't be Gmail over there, but it'll be CC692 or whatever. They then quit their job, but they don't tell us as customers. Okay, so in the meantime, we're still communicating with the same email. And when we say we want to place another order, she says, okay, great, excellent. You ask for the payment details to come through, or please send us the invoice. And the invoice comes through for another bank account. Normally, their personal bank account. Now, I've seen this one personally. To me, this happened to me. Right? I've been quite smart about it. I've been switched on. And I phoned the company. And they said, well, no, she doesn't work here anymore. Consequently, I was in the safe. I knew how to get around it. I know what I was looking for. And I didn't fall for it. There is no silver bullet to avoid the scams. What we've got to be doing is just switched on and be aware. And there's a combination of appropriate tactics that makes it very unlikely to work. Okay, so we've got to be on top of the ball here, guys, all the time when dealing with some of these Chinese suppliers. So here's how to avoid the bank account scam. Get to know several English-speaking people at your supplier. Get their company landline phone number. Even Skype accounts can be hacked. Okay. If something suspicious comes up, you can give a few phone calls to the different people that you know and ask what is going on. Okay, so you've got several people's version of what's happening. This will not only be helpful for payments, but also for other claims. In other words, if the factory got flooded or something else happened, you understand what is going on. Okay, and I've seen all of these. I've seen all of these scenarios in my time. Number two, each supplier for their bank account information in advance. Sorry, ask each supplier for the information in advance, because your supplier qualification process probably includes asking for a copy of their business license. At the same time, ask for their bank account information. Then instruct them to mention see bank account information document on invoices rather than using their standard template that includes the full bank details. In other words, get that information separately all the time. Okay, that's one point. Number three, ask suppliers to fax every invoice to you. Now, personally, I don't have a fax machine. I don't know too many people that have. So this is really organized. If you do have that facility, then do it. So this step here is like, if it applies. Okay, so because if the email system can be hacked, ask for that extra level of safety. Have invoices faxed to you and check whether they're sending fax belongs to the supplier's company. Okay, I can't do that. I haven't got a fax company. I don't know anybody that's got a fax. Okay, but I dare say a few people have. Number four, do a small wire to pay a sample fee. What do we mean by that? You'll probably need the supplier to prepare a sample. We talked about that earlier before you confirm the order. Why not offer to pay for that sample? You will have a confirmation that you've got the right bank account then, because that will be received the money. Okay, if you're sending it into some various of another place, because what you're trying to do here is just cross-reference everything, tie everything together, make sure we've got continuity, consistency. Okay, you can always negotiate a refund of your samples once you place the order later on. And a lot of people do. A lot of suppliers will actually say that, okay, if you pay for the sample now, then we'll take that off of the order, because they don't want to be out of pocket by sending all of these samples out to everybody. But if you're serious about the product and place an order, they don't mind actually refunding that on your first order. Number five, have a special procedure for confirming the company name. In other words, if you've been discussing business with a salesperson, use a certain company name. you might receive a pro forma invoice in the name of another company. In that case, you need to ask for written explanation. In other words, if I'm talking to a particular supplier and they tell me they are benderplastics.com and then they send the invoice through for some other random name that I've never heard of, why would I send money to that company when I don't know them? Because I've been talking to Bender Plastics all day. Okay? Get that written explanation, and you need their company chop. Okay, now I've got an image of a company chop later on. So a signature is one thing, but over in China, it's all about the company chop. Okay, which is a little round symbol printed in red. Get them to send that to you, email and _ fax. Note that the paying China company in mainland is much safer as opposed to anywhere else. In other words, in some cases, I have had this where I'm dealing with a company in China. I get the information through on the invoice and it's bank account in Hong Kong. So again, ask why, what's the relevancy? China's a lot better. Number 6, have a special procedure for confirming bank account changes. This is very suspicious. Okay, if your supplier says that, follow the same procedure as point 5. But also call several people within the company, okay, and ask for that relevant information. It's important information. They will understand your attitude if you tell them you're worried about the different bank account scams that are going around at the moment. Because at the end of the day, they are victims as well. If they are being hacked into, or if one of their ex-employees is trying to take money, okay, they're a victim, we're a victim. So they want to work with you. You know, if they're a serious business, they will be very open with you. There's no problems. Don't worry about it. Lastly, there's a caveat to this at the end, right? If you're considering a relatively large purchase order over $50,000, for example, then it makes perfect sense to pay by letter of credit. Okay, I'm not going to go into what a letter of credit here is at the moment, but that's the best way forward. I've never heard of a scam on a supplier who's paying by a letter of credit. The extra benefits here, you don't need to advance any money to the supplier before production or the production starts. Now, here's the caveat. This is clearly not aimed at the start of business. But as you grow your business, when you grow your business to a certain size, you will be ordering more products, more stock, more inventory. And you could get to the size where you're ordering $50,000 worth at a time, $100,000 worth at a time. At that stage, you really need to be looking at letters of credit. Okay, and that's where you start to need to investigate that and go and talk to your bank. Your bank will show you all the information you need. So this is a personal email to me with one of my suppliers that I'm working to at the moment. Hello, Paul. Please see our answers below. Also, here attached is the invoice for the modifications, blah, 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 blah. Best regards, Christy, sales manager, contact information. And this is on the standard email signature. We want to point out that Societar, that's the name of the supplier, does not inform about changes to banking accounts by email. In other words, if you receive such an email, please ignore it and inform us immediately. So if I got an email from societarmold.com, as you can see at the top here, stating, Dear Paul, we have changed our bank account for your next order. Please wire the money to blah, blah, blah. Okay, that is their email system being hacked into by a scammer and trying to get money out. Okay, so this is on an email. I can't remember when that, just a couple of days ago I got that. Chinese scammers love Western Union. If there's one big giveaway that you're communicating with Chinese scammers and not with a real supplier, it's the request for payment via Western Union. Now, Rob and I love this one. You know, there are many options for paying suppliers in China apart from Western Union. Many, many other ways. Okay, and even Western Union are saying, don't do this. Okay, Western Union is in favor of Chinese scammers. is a favorite, sorry, of Chinese scammers because it's the easiest way for them to require victims' money and get away with it. It's like going down to the supermarket and say, oh, by the way, I've left your $5,000 on the bench outside. Come and get it when you're ready. You just wouldn't do that. You just would not do that. Okay. And even Western Union are saying, don't use it. And I've got a link here so you can click on that to read it. And it's their recommendations. Okay. Just don't use Western Union. Money transfer never evers. Okay, this is a list from Western Union. Lower your chances of falling victim to fraud by checking out these 8 things that you should never do when using money transfer service. Okay, this is from the Western Union website. Never send money to people you haven't met in person. Well, you know, it's like sometimes a little bit difficult if we're dealing with suppliers in China, because we're not going to meet them in person, I would say 99% of the time. Never send money to pay for taxes or fees or lottery prizes, a fairly obvious one. And some of these down here I'm not going to go through, but I just want to draw your attention to the bottom one here. Never send a money transfer to an individual or online purchases. It's the individual section that I want to draw your attention to, because that could be, that could be the employer who has left that particular supplier you've been dealing with, and he said, yeah, no worries, I'll look after it for you, no worries, just send your $2,000 to me. Western Union's fine. Well, no, it's not. Here's what some of the experts have had to say in the past. Okay, this comes from an interview that's held it was in Hong Kong, actually, at one of the conferences out there, and some of the larger Amazon sellers were out there for a conference, and they were asked some of these questions. These are some of the answers. Be very careful when establishing business relations with new companies. Do as much due diligence as you can. For example, ask for the company's license and ID card and the passport of companies' registered legal representatives. Well, I've never done that in the past, but like I say, I'm just reading this from one of the experts and what they said. Send people you trust to do the on-site investigation to the manufacturing site. In other words, use a third-party inspection or auditing company for that, and someone that is recognized in their field. Do a site inspection on goods before payment. We've covered that already. If order material needs legal testing, statutory survey, ask for the scanned report before the shipment. In other words, if you've got a Bluetooth product or something that needs some testing or certification, you need to get that product certified from something like Intertech or TUV, one of these test houses, independent test houses. You need to get that test certificate sent to you before products are shipped out. That's what they're talking about here. Next point down. Know the market price for the material you are seeking to purchase before you purchase it. In other words, don't get ripped off straight off. Okay, do some background checks, do some due diligence with respect to what is the average price for this product you are looking to purchase. Do not trust a company that gives you unreasonably low quotes. In other words, if you know that one of the previous things we were looking at was copper bracelet. If you know that the copper bracelet that you're looking for is around the $5 mark per item, someone comes here and there and goes, you know what, guys, I'm going to give you $1.50 per product. You think, hold on a minute, everything else I've seen is $5. And I thought $5, $5 to $6 or there or thereabouts. $1.50, yeah, that's what I'm going to make tons of money. Probably a red flag on that one, okay, because it's unreasonably lower than everything else that you find out there. Okay, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So here is that company chop that I was talking about. And here's something else one of the experts has said. Okay, use a formal and strict contract terms to protect your interest. A formal contract should be signed and stamped by all parties and include, but not limited to, the following items on the right. Now, I don't have a company shop, right? So I would sign it. I would sign my contract with my supplier. The supplier, I would expect them to sign it and provide the company shop on that particular legal document. Okay, so within that contract, you should be looking at the product name, product specifications, very important. Okay, the pricing that you've negotiated and finalized, the packaging details that you want your product to be packaged in, the quantities that you've been talking about on a monthly basis, the payment terms. Is it 30% down? Is it 70% after inspection but before shipment? Delivery terms. Are you talking about air freight, sea freight? What type of terms are you talking about? The quality standards was specifically to any testing methods. Testing terms. In other words, do you need your products tested before? How many do you want them tested before they're shipped out, etc.? Choice of law. Okay, I know a little bit about this, not a lot. I'm not a lawyer, don't forget. But any legal contract should be in Chinese. Therefore, you need to get it written in both English so you can understand it and accurately written in Chinese. Because if it does go to court, it will be in China, not in America, because the Chinese don't recognize American law. So if you're trying to take your supplier to court, you need to do it in China. And the Chinese court only recognizes Chinese written contracts. That much I do know. That's I'm going to draw a line under that. You can also have a penalty on quality discrepancies. Okay, now that's quite detailed for the likes of you and I, but if we're starting to build our business and the business is growing nicely, you need to start thinking about having some of these contracts in place. I hear you say, but I'm on Alibaba. True, so am I. Well, not on Alibaba, but that's where I do the majority of my searching, and I'm looking for my potential suppliers on Alibaba. So what about the gold supplier? Now, we talked about this in the past. Now, this is what the gold supplier is all about. Alibaba Gold Supplier is a large source of income for Alibaba as a business. Suppliers wishing to be granted the icon, the little icon on the right-hand top there, on their profiles must pay an annual fee to Alibaba. The annual fee is in the region of $10,000. But that's a good thing. Why? Because it sifts out some of the lower end scam artists, some of the smaller businesses that can't afford that $10,000 a year. Okay, so this is why it's a reasonable thing to have that gold supplier stamp on the profile. Okay, if that reduces the legitimacy of the gold star in your eyes, then you will likely have a healthy level of skepticism. Alibaba Gold Star is arguably more about money exchanging hands than it is about safeguarding the interests of buyers. But like I said, it does weed out all of the smaller companies if they're looking to just get on there and scam people for the money, okay, because they won't have the $10,000 to put up to start with. Having said that, I think this is where we talk about it. Yeah, eliminates the low-end fraudsters and scams, because Alibaba Gold Star is 10,000. Like I said. So there was a few years back, 2011, a big scam when it came to this gold star thing in Alibaba, because two senior executives at Alibaba Group resigned after the rather large-scale fraud went around the Alibaba gold supplier scheme. It came to light that 100 members of the 500,000 or the 5,000 strong sales team were taking underhand payments, under the table, kickbacks, whatever you want to call it, in exchange for allowing these fraudulent suppliers to skip the already merged verification process. In other words, you can't just like pay your $10,000. You need to get approved. Someone needs to go around your factory, around your office, whatever the case may be, wherever you're listed as, and they need to check, make sure that you are who you are. Okay, these 100 members were taking bribes in order to skip that verification process. Consequently, there was all of these fraudulent scammers all of a sudden getting this gold star, gold supplier badge on their profile, and they were able to scam a lot of people out of a lot of money. But that saga is now over. Alibaba's blacklisted hundreds of those suppliers, but it's still in the back of our mind, and it still remains up to the buyers to consider how much they trust and they want to place in the Alibaba gold supplier system. Okay, and this is why we need to still do our due diligence. And it's important that we get that independent third-party verification, or as much as we can, in order to get that verification, that continuity, and just do that due diligence in the background. So we've got to do that. So how do we do that? Well, we've been through a lot of how to do it and what to look for and what to look out for. But if you do need some assistance, there are many services out there that can help you. China Checkup being one of them. These are some of the guys that I know. These are based in Shanghai, just around the corner from where I used to live. You can see here they've got 3 recommended levels. Cost effective on the left-hand side there. Let me zoom in so you can see this. Okay. So the cost effective central verification, okay, 129. We'll have a look at what they do in a minute. Okay. Then we've got the 199, and then we've got the full scope verification at just under 400. Okay, so you can see that. You can get your information back within 1 working day if you're looking down here. Also, on the pro version, it's 1 working day. So you can get your information back very, very quickly and verify that the supplier you're talking to is legitimate. So look, see what they do. Okay, for that 129, what do I get? Well, you get quite a lot, actually, because all of these are indicating that they're going to be looking at the individual research for the individual company or supplier. An experienced team of China-based consultants will go and do that work for you. English language PDF report. So even though it's going to be carried out in Chinese, some of their research, some of their background, some of the due diligence in Chinese, and a lot of this concerns are going to be both searching the internet in Chinese. In other words, we're talking about registration. That's going to be all in Chinese, so they can do that, as well as picking the phone up and talking to these guys and asking various different questions in Chinese. Okay, so they're basically going to be quizzing them, but we get the information back in an English PDF report, which is great. Expert support via email and live chat during this period. Okay, so you get that information. Verification process, China Checkup, advanced verification method on all of those across there. Now, the official name and legal status determination, that is again what we're talking about when you got one piece of information coming across. Oh, I'm talking to Bender Plastics Limited, but they've sent an invoice in a totally different name. So, you know, what's going on here? Is this the company I'm actually talking to? Why is it a different name? Why is it a different bank account? Why is it all of this? This is where we need to get that information. These guys out there will do that for you. Okay. Look up and translate registration information, because the registration information will be, and it is, in Chinese. There's no way that I can go and check that. I can't read Chinese. Okay. I can speak taxi Chinese, but I certainly can't read it. Research, analyze, and translate enhanced features. Now, you've got to go up some level in order to get that. It's not on 129, but it's on the higher levels. Okay. There are more information. There's a lot more information on this website. Go and search for it. The top China Checkup, underline, that's a hyperlink. Go and check on it. Do your research. Talk to these guys. It's an English guy, English stroke Australian guy that runs it. So he can speak English, and there's no problems. Talk to him and see if you need the service. Right, so I'm almost finished. Then we're going to open up to a few questions. I've got a few questions in there. Are there useful sources to help source safely from China. China Import Portal. We talked about these guys before. Again, a Western-owned company. A couple of Swedish guys own this, based in Shanghai again. They will help you find suitable suppliers. China Checkup, we just talked about them. Quality Inspection Org. This is a fantastic, slightly biased because I write some of the stuff on there, but this is a great source of information for anybody sourcing products from China. Great source of information. Sofeast Limited, that is an auditing and inspection company. SAOS or SAUS, again, this is an independent consultancy business that will help you through your journey trying to find products in China, trying to find suitable suppliers. I also do a lot of project management work as well if you're looking for a slightly bigger project. Jing Sourcing, we had these guys on a call a little while back. Again, they are out there. They can help you find particular products, particular suppliers, and help you through that process. Each of these images, okay, has got a hyperlink behind it, so you can click on any of these and it'll take you directly to their website. So these are just useful resources that are found that can help you through this minefield with respect to getting your products sourced safely from China. Now, I'll put a caveat under this. All of this sounds a little bit scary, a little bit, oh my goodness, but it's there to help you. You've got to try and understand that the language barrier alone can be the source of a problem. Okay, so you need to go through this. You need to understand the process with respect to the best practices of getting your products sourced from China, working with particular suppliers, making sure you're not being scammed, how to get through this minefield, and hopefully, I know it has been a long and a fairly dry subject today, guys, but I think it's a very important subject that we all need to understand. Okay, so that's basically all I have. Let me just double check. Yep, that's all I have. So, question, or Rob, have you got anything to add to that? I know it's quite dry on that, but I'm sure you got something to add to that.
I definitely do. Go ahead and shut that microphone off of yours.
Yeah. Go.
All right. So some of my notes today are, I guess the first thing that I think would be is, yeah, this is all scary and it's meant to be scary. But in reality it's just some checks you can do. It's like being aware if you're in a bad part of town, you know, you just need to be aware of what's going on. I would say for sure, a large majority, 98%, you know, of Chinese companies are legitimate. Are there scammers out there? Yes. You know, I don't care if you're in America and you're dealing with wholesalers or whatever it is. There are bad people no matter where you go. And all we're trying to do today is just make you aware. And even some of these simple things that Paul talked about can make a big impact. You know, this is something you can do for an hour and just search online. The next thing is I think the thing that we talked about, which is the company chop and all that stuff. One of the things that I have found working with the Chinese is that honestly, when they have a contract, now they'll squirm a lot, but when you even have a contract written down, and when I say contract, I think sometimes, you know, it needs to be a very simple form. They'll usually have some kind of contract, but these don't need to be complex documents. It just needs to outline what you've agreed to, how many pieces, what color, what size, what materials, you know, so that the biggest thing is if somehow you're not using Western Union or using PayPal or some other form of payment with a credit card or whatever it might be, it's much easier to have a dispute when you have a contract and can show that, you know, there was a problem with what they said they were going to do. So, you know, the main thing is just to make sure that you have some type of contract. And like I said, it could be a bullet points. I don't care, but just make sure there's an agreed upon thing. Now, once you get that chop, I really believe that the Chinese that's a big deal. Like that chop is like their like guarantee or their name. So it's a big deal. They feel that makes things so much more official, and they're so much more likely to pay attention to what they said they're going to do with that chop on there. And I'm sure after this, Paul will probably make a comment and give a little more detail to that. But the chop, which is really just the stamp, but that stamp represents your company. And, you know, Chinese business owners, that at the end of the day is important to them. Now, like Paul said, there is, you know, face in Asia. And basically that just means you don't want to be embarrassed, and you'll do anything about not being embarrassed for your fault. It's like pointing the finger at somebody else a lot of times. And we'd always rather they tell us the truth so we know what's going on, but they don't sometimes. I think the biggest thing that's going to be at the level, if you're just starting out, is all of these things cannot be applied to them. So, you know, because we've talked about all these things, you may not be at a level where these things aren't going to impact you. If you have an order under $2,000 for your product, a lot of these things won't even be available to you, or cost-wise make sense to do it. So, you know, you have to put that into the process. So let's assume you are dealing with a smaller order initial quantity, which we're going to suggest. You know, a lot of these things that Paul talked about can be done quickly. You know, checking addresses, checking Google Maps. I mean, you know, what if we could just drop down, you know, and look at a building? You know, things like that. Just being extra smart and extra cautious, depending on, you know, what you're doing. You know, reading profiles and, you know, and communicating. Now, the last thing that I'll leave you with is, which I think is probably the most important thing you can do for your product. And prior to, let me say this, an inspection company, or using a sourcing company to find your product. The issue is going to be is when you're doing a first initial order and, you know, you're trying to get a small MOQ, you know, you can't be crazy demanding, you know, with these companies and asking for all kinds of things that in reality, you know, for a small order like that, and they're getting, you know, $100,000 orders and $80,000 orders, and here you come with your $1,000 order. Just know that, in fact, that, you know, don't be too demanding, don't be crazy, because they'll just quit talking to you. And so just keep that in mind. But, you know, using a inspection company is super easy. If you're going to spend now on $1,000 order, you're going to have to make a call. Does it make sense to spend $150 or not? But, you know, we do have the possibility that when you're in China, these inspection companies will show up, walk in the factory, look around, touch your product. You know, you're going to get, and many of these services offer a little bit of background check on your companies. So you can go in and get some background information just from your inspection company. I'm always impressed at when you do an inspection, the amount of paperwork and data they give you. Most of these companies, it always seems impressive to me that they have this number of pages, and they've done all of these things to check it on your product. So, you know, you're going to have to make a call. I would say probably, you know, spending 10% of the money you're going to invest in your company for a product, you know, and that has to do with volume. Obviously, some of you guys are going to be starting out, and $1,500 is a lot of money. Well, to a Chinese supplier, that's very, I mean, it's pretty much nothing. So if it's a manufacturer, you know, you're probably going to be dealing with a company that's just distributing. You know, they're a supplier, a wholesale supplier, or, you know, they're not somebody who's the manufacturer. So it's a trading company typically. So, you know, when you're dealing with them on those smaller numbers, you know, you're going to have to debate how much it's worth. If you're really concerned about your money, go ahead and spend $100, $150 and have it inspected. That will make you sleep a lot better. Okay. But that's going to have to be a call of you. So the thing that I'm going to tell you, and here's the little secret inside thing. So what you need to do is I call it avoiding the catfish. We've heard that thing on that television show called Catfishing, where, you know, people are talking to each other online and one of them's lying, and they're really representing themselves as somebody else, and you show up and you think you're going to meet Prince Charming, and there's a frog there. That's kind of one of those things. If you think about what I just said, I was even thinking, that's kind of how the system works over there. There's somebody saying they're a manufacturer and they're a trading company. And like Paul said, you got to listen a lot to what companies say and what they do. Look for small little things that happen. If they're lying about these small things, there's a likelihood they're lying about other things. How you're communicating with you. If they communicate with you easy, if they, if when you send them an email, you get a response on time, all of those things will lead with you to understand your supplier is super important into this, because, once you do with them, they have very much control of almost your money, almost everything in your business. So, how you deal with them when you speak to them on the phone, when you talk to them. Now, remember, one of the things that I suggest is do not be sending email after email. Do not email these guys. You need to be on chat. And if you can speak to them, even better. But you've got to be chatting with them live instead of email streaming. Email streaming will extend the process of you sourcing your product multiples. I mean, absolutely multiples will be added to your time if you are using emails, because emails will take 24 hours. You're on a 12-hour time difference. You send the email, they're waking up, you're going to bed. If they don't get within the first 3 hours of you them coming to work, or you waking up, them going home, because they're going home at 5 o'clock, let's say, their time. Well, at 5 o'clock, it's 5 a.m. your time. Now what? So it's going to take 2 days to get an email answered every time. So keep that in mind. You got to be able to talk to Chinese suppliers with chat. So either WeChat or Skype chat or Alibaba chat inside, but you should always be communicating with your suppliers through chat, so you get live interaction. So the last thing, if you're trying to save money, you've done some of these things on your own, you've checked these companies out. Literally just read things and look at things on the internet. How long is their website being open? I know Paul talked about a lot of these things, but the one magic trick it's to avoid the catfish. And how do you avoid the catfish? Is we all have cell phones and smartphones in our hand, and we've deemed this what I call the iPhone inspection. So how an iPhone inspection is, and this is only for people who are, you've now went and you're only going to spend, let's say, $1,000 on your first initial product because you got a small order. Well, so, spending $150 and having an inspection is like, well, that's 10%, maybe 15% of what I'm spending on my product. There may not be any margin left at all to be able to test this product. So you say, okay, I'm going to forego the inspection. Well, how that works is, you've now done all these other things you can check out. You checked out pictures, you checked out. So you've got as much information as you possibly can. They're dealing with you nice and whatever, and you feel confident. But when you get this agent on the phone, get them online, have them take you out into their factory, have them take you out into their showroom, put you on live camera. I mean, we all can do this, where you can share screens and do this, where you can go in and look. So, if the guy says he's or the girl says she's, a beauty queen, and, she shows up and she's not a beauty queen, you can look at her on the camera. She's not willing to show you pictures. And one of the things that you'll find is that Chinese suppliers are super proud of their factories. Like, they love to show their factories. Oh, this is our factory. This is what our manufacturing looks like. That also prevents you from dealing with, places that, you may not want to be buying products from, because they've got, horrible conditions, and, there's child labor inside of there. So do what I call the iPhone inspection. Have them take super high resolution photos of your item. Have them do a video. Request to have a lot of light in a lighted room when you do it, and they can snap pictures. You can look at it live on the phone with them. And again, have them show you their showroom. Take a picture of me and your people you work with. Be friendly with them even. That friendly, oh, I'd love to see your coworkers. Take a picture of your office. Hey, go down to your showroom and take a picture for me. Or, hey, go down and we'll live stream this. I want to see you, you want to see me. We're going to do business together. I really want to see what your factory looks like. So if on a live call, You know, they can go down there, or are they in a, are they in a dorm room somewhere talking to you and they're not actually in an office? So the iPhone inspection is a very inexpensive way for you to check out what's going on with your product and your company and your manufacturer. If they're unwilling to do that, to me, that just sends up a red flag, and you may have a frog instead of a prince. We'll leave you with that.
Just to reiterate what Rob said about the chop, if you ask them to physically sign something, they will sign it, but they don't really. It doesn't really carry any weight unless it has the company chop. That is their legal, and it is a legal piece of equipment. It's a rubber stamp, but it's legally issued from the government. Okay, and that is their. If you've got the company chop on your document, it means they're serious. Okay. All right, team. That's all I've got. Listen, I've got a few questions here. You sent your first. Hold on a minute. Let me just read this again. I've just shipped my first shipment to Amazon. Hold on a minute. Woohoo! Well done, Will. But the provider or the suppliers sent in 6 cartons and I only sent 1 tracking number. Well, Will, last week we had 7 cartons sent out. I had 1 tracking number. What I've done in my shipping plan is I added that 1 tracking number in all of the spaces where I could. Okay, so yes, that is fairly common, assuming that all of your products are going to the same place. If they're going to different places, you should have different tracking numbers, just to make that clear. So there you go. So if anybody wants to come down the front, we're just about to end, but Rob and I will be sticking around for a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to come down the front, I've dropped the link into the chat. So please come down. You can talk about your business, talk about the group, talk about anything you want, ask questions about today. Apart from that, that's all I've got. Happy Sunday and moving forward with your business, guys. That's all. We're out. You take care. Bye-bye.